Um, I like to read about Moses because, in some ways, not only do I feel more like him as I'm getting older. About 3 weeks ago, I was going to help a friend take her kids to her son's graduation. So I pulled up at their house, and I don't know why. Oh, no, there were some things I had in the back seat, so I took them out. I was going to put them in the trunk. I opened the tailgate to the trunk. I put the things in there. My truck has a tailgate that either folds down or swings out, either way. So I swung it out, put the things to the back, swung the tailgate back, and I wasn't standing far enough to one side, and bam, it hit me on the leg. And you're probably knowing what I did next. I grabbed that tailgate and I just slammed it as hard as I could. Felt better about that. 2 days later, I was over at the garden. I was going to get some tools out to work in the garden, and I went to work the latch on the tailgate. Guess what wouldn't work? It wouldn't fold down. It wouldn't swing out. And guess where all my tools were locked up? My truck has a unique system for carrying tools that has this little lid that raises up. Your tools are underneath. You put the lid down and you close the tailgate. You can't open the tailgate. You can't get to your tools. You can't fix. And I'm like, I know, I'm learning. I'm 74 years old. I should know better. I'm still learning. So, ladies, if you have any husbands that lose their temper, or sons that lose their temper from time to time, it's okay to say amen and pray for them. We all of us men, probably a few women too, maybe not as many as the guys here, need some prayers from time to time to work on our anger. Let's take a look at Moses this morning and see how God was transforming him. We don't have access to the screen, so if you've got a Bible handy, I'm going to ask you to open to Exodus chapter 2. We're going to read verses 11 through 15. Exodus chapter 2, verses 11 through 15. Now it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out to his brethren, and he looked at their burdens. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And so he looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went the second day, behold, 2 Hebrews were fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, "Why are you striking your companion?" And then he said, "Who made you prince and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me the way you killed the Egyptian?" So Moses feared and said, "Surely this thing is known." And when Pharaoh heard about this matter, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well. I kind of wonder maybe if Moses was kind of pondering his situation the way I was the other day when I was trying to figure out, how am I going to get my tools to work in the garden? And I'm thinking back, as perhaps maybe Moses did. And I wonder that I understand Moses spent the next 40 years in the land of Midian as a sheep herder. He was out there just herding little little sheep out there. I mean, that's a really tough job, right? But when you're there, what are you learning to do when you're herding sheep? Do you suppose you're learning patience? And is God, our Father in heaven, still working on some of us, trying to teach us some patience? Well, let's find out. Let's go on to Exodus chapter 16. Moses is a very good individual to look at because we can learn a lot from his life. Exodus chapter 16, verses 1 through 5. And as we know, Moses, after the 40 years in the land of Midian, I'm going to share some things with you. We don't have time because of the amount of time we have this morning. After 40 years in the land of Midian, God sends him back to Egypt to free the children of Israel. And he, at that time, is a little bit older than some of us in here. I'm 74. At that time, Moses was 80. And so, Exodus chapter 16, verses 1 through 5. He and the children of Israel are journeying along, and they have been freed from Egypt. And you would think that they would be grateful. And they journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, as they departed from the land of Egypt. Then the whole congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, "Oh, that we had died in the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate bread to the full. For you've brought us out into this wilderness to kill us, to kill the whole assembly with hunger." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily." Is there some testing going on here for the children of Israel? Perhaps, maybe for Moses, perhaps for all of us, when things don't always work out the way that we would like them to work out. Exodus chapter 32 and verses 1 through 14. Exodus chapter 32 and verses 1 through 14. Now, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us gods, that we shall go up. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." And Aaron said to them, "Break off the golden earrings which you have in your ears, and your wives, your sons, your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool, and he molded a calf. Then they said, "This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt." And so when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, just in case anybody doesn't realize, Aaron is Moses' brother. So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord." Then they rose up early the next day, offered their burnt offerings, brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat, drink, and rose up to play. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go, get down, for your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf and worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, 'This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt.' And when the Lord said to Moses, 'I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation.'" What is God getting ready to do? He is so frustrated with these people that he worked so hard, all the plagues that Moses did in Egypt, parting the Red Sea to take them across, looking behind them and seeing all of the Egyptians swallowed up in the water, working with them time and time again, perhaps like he works with us sometimes, myself. And yet, what do? What are they doing here? They're turning away from God. But look what Moses does. Then Moses pleaded with the Lord his God and said, "Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians speak and say, 'He brought them out to harm them, to kill them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth'? Turn from your fierce wrath and relent from this harm to your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, Israel, your servants to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, 'I will multiply your descendants as stars of the heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of I give to your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever.' So the Lord relented from the harm which he had said that he would do to his people. Do we see a change in Moses? He has gone from an individual who, in my opinion, if you kill somebody, if you take somebody's life in a situation as we read about here in the Bible, the chances are pretty good you're pretty mad with the situation at hand, and you take matters into your own hand. This is my personal observation. And so Moses, previously as we spoke about, perhaps due to his anger, he took another individual's life. But what is Moses doing now? And he realizes that God is so angry with the actions of the people that he worked so hard to bring out of Egypt. He is pleading to God for their lives. Do we see a change coming about in Moses' life? Let's turn to Numbers chapter 12. Numbers chapter 12, verses 1 through 16. Then Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. So they said, has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses? Has he not spoken through us also? And the Lord heard it. And now the man Moses was very humble. Let me read that again. Now the man Moses was very humble. Imagine the Bible's description of Moses as being very humble. More than all the men who were on the face of the earth. Suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, come out, you three, to the tabernacle of meeting. So the three of them came out, and then the Lord came down from the pillar of cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. And God said to them, hear now my words. Is there a prophet among you? I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. I speak with him face to face, as we say in Spanish, cara a cara. Even plainly, and now in dark sayings. And he sees the form of the Lord, and when they were not, and then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And so the anger of the Lord was aroused against them, and he departed. And when the cloud departed from above the tabernacle, suddenly Miriam became leprous, as white as snow. Then Aaron turned to Miriam, and there she was, a leper. So Aaron said to Moses, oh, my Lord, please do not lay this sin on us, in which we have done foolishly, in which we have sinned. I can't speak for you, but I know sometimes Andrew has done the same things, denied God, said things that I shouldn't say, and probably deserve the same thing that happened to me, that happened to Miriam. And I am so thankful that God has mercy upon me, and he allows me to be forgiven of the things that I've said and done that I shouldn't be doing. So Moses cried out to the Lord, please heal her, O God. Let me read that again. Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, please heal her, O God, I pray. How about it when your own family turns against you? Does that ever happen to anybody? Moses' own sister is questioning his authority after everything she has seen all the way out of the land of Egypt. And she receives her, you might say, just punishment. But what does Moses immediately turn around and do? He cries out and he asks God, please heal her. Do we see a transformation taking place in Moses' life from an individual who got upset when he was more or less 40 years old and was responsible for taking another person's life, to asking our Father in heaven to reach out and change physically the appearance, the leprosy that has taken over his sister Miriam, to remove that from her, even though we know what she has done is wrong. Then the Lord said to Moses, if her father had put spit on her face, would he not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and afterwards that she may be received again. So Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not journey till Miriam was brought out again. And afterwards the people moved from Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran. Numbers chapter 13, verses 31 through 33. We know that God sent the children of Israel. He asked he asked that 12 men be taken to be sent out for 40 days to go into the promised land to spy it out. They went out there, spent 40 days. They even came back with two guys carrying between them I'm not sure what you call it, but it's one of the parts of a vine with some grapes on it that were so big that 2 men had to carry it. And they come back, and they have a business meeting, you might say, maybe similar to some of the business meetings we have at the church here. And it was interesting how the business meeting turned out. Let's read and see. I want to back up a little bit. Verse 26. Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. And they brought back the word unto all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. They told him and said, We went into the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey. And this is the fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan. Then Caleb quieted the people. Caleb is an associate of Joshua who thinks the same way that Joshua does. Before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are able to overcome it. Caleb and Joshua had no fear. They had seen victory after victory after victory that God had enabled them to overcome. It didn't matter what it was, who it was that came before them. When God was with them, they always overcame, and going out to these people in land that God had already promised to them was not going to be any different. So these 2 men, Caleb and Joshua, said, We can do it, guys. Let's go. But what happens? But the men who had gone up with him said, We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, The land through which we have gone as spies is a land which devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak, who came from giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. It's called the grasshopper complex. As we go out in the world, whatever it is we face, and we will face problems, if we see ourselves as grasshoppers, we're going to get grasshopper results. Because we're not asking our Father in heaven to help us deal with one more problem that comes before us. We just finally figure out we come up against a wall that we can't go over. And that's what happened with the 10 men here. They saw themselves as grasshoppers. Joshua and Caleb didn't. They believed because they had seen what our Father in heaven had did. They knew what he could do again, and they had total and complete faith that the results of going into the promised land would not be any different than any of the former battles that they had gone into. Numbers 14, verses 11 through 24. Unfortunately, they decided not to go in, although there were 2 who believed they could. Actually 3, I would say Moses also. Then the Lord said to Moses, How long will these people reject me? How long will they not believe me? With all the signs which I have performed among them, I will strike them with pestilence and disinherit them. I will make of you a nation greater and mightier than they. Again. And Moses said to the Lord, Then the Egyptians will hear it, for by your might you brought them out out, you brought these people up from among them, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land. They have heard that you, the Lord, are among these people, that you, Lord, are seen face to face, and your cloud stands among them, and you before the pillar of a cloud by day and a pillar of a cloud by night. Now, if you kill these people as one man, then the nations which you have heard of your fame will speak, saying, because the Lord was not able to bring the people into the land which he swore to give them, therefore he killed them in the wilderness. Now I pray, let the power of the Lord be great, just as you have spoken, saying, the Lord is long-suffering and abundant in mercy, and he is, forgiving iniquity and transgression. But he by no means clears the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children of the third and fourth generation. Pardon the iniquity of this people, I pray, according to the greatness of your mercy, just as you have forgiven this people from Egypt even until now. Verse 20, then the Lord said, I have pardoned according to your word, Moses. But truly, as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, because all these men who have seen my glory and the signs which I did in Egypt, in the wilderness, have put me to the test now these 10 times, and have not heeded my voice. They certainly shall not see the land of whom I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of who rejected me see it, but my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit. And he followed me fully. I will bring into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn and move out of the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. Our final reading, Matthew chapter 17. Verses 1 through 3. Matthew 17, 1 through 3. Now after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, and led them up on a high mountain themselves, and was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun. His clothes became as white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. I'm of the opinion Moses is alive in heaven today, my opinion. He was a faithful servant. Did he have to learn to make some changes in his life as he was serving God? He did. But God, our Father, like any good parent, knows what's best for us, his kids. Sometimes he causes things to happen, which maybe we lose our temper when we shouldn't. But he's very patient with us, and he's wanting us to maybe learn how to control, at least for myself, our temper. And you think about Moses. When we first started reading about him this morning, he reacted to a situation by killing somebody, which is not right. That was one of the commandments he broke from the original 10 Commandments. But what transforms in Moses as he goes along? He goes from an individual who loses control of himself to an individual who gives control of himself to God. And when he sees people out there, family members and others, who neglect him, turn against him, and God is so upset with them, he's ready to just wipe them out, clean house and start over. What does Moses do? He says, no, please do not do that. You had a plan, and it's a good, in a manner of speaking, I'm saying, You have a good plan. Let's continue to work with the plan. And so for us today that are here, God has a plan for each one of us individually. And I think we probably have some kind of an idea what it is. It's going to get frustrating from time to time. But that's life, just as we saw Moses experiencing life. If we continue to be faithful like Moses, Esther, Ruth, David, Jesus, others we read about in the Bible, then someday when we get to heaven, because I want to sit down and talk to Moses. I want to ask him, how did you do it? I mean, because anyway, when we get there, we're going to have some wonderful conversations. Everything in this life is finite. I can't think of anything that is infinite, that continues on, that doesn't rust, deteriorate, go away, which makes heaven, in my opinion, difficult to comprehend because it's infinite, it goes on forever, and it's a wonderful place to be. I don't know where you are today. If you know you're done what you need to do, that Christ told us to do in the Bible, then you've got a wonderful future to look forward to someday. If not, and you would like to make the changes that you need to make, becoming a Christian, being baptized and washing away your sins, our church family is ready to help you today. Or if you just need prayers of our church, we ask you to come forward as Randy leads us in our invitation song.